Movies, games, cartoons, sitcoms. They're all things I enjoy. My name is Ramen. I'm here to have fun and look back at something old and new, while being a total goofball in the process. If it's good or bad, I'll be there with a smile on my face and a blue donut on my shirt. Are you ready? You know, as a grown-up, I've come to learn it kinda sucks. Bills, jobs, thriving, it's a lot to handle. But when you're a kid, you pretty much have a free pass to do whatever. No job, no responsibilities, you can poop everywhere. Okay, maybe not that last one, but you get the point. When you're a kid, you don't appreciate what you have until it's gone. As a kid, you're exposed to so many cartoons and TV shows. Some shows will be erased from your mind forever, and some shows will leave a lasting impact throughout most of your life. But it only took one show for me to realize, maybe I took being a teenager for granted. It's not all pimples and rejection, fellas. And that little television program is All Grown Up. Hello amigos, Ramen coming at ya. And I'm feeling pretty new. Thanks to my awesome still artist, KASH, link below. Now let's get back to what we're talking about. Growing up, I never really went to parties or hung out with the popular kids. I just had a group of friends that I sat with in class and at lunch. Well, I was the nerd of my group. I had ambitions, dreams of being something a lot more. The show All Grown Up, believe it or not, was kinda my escapism from the pressures of being a preteen. The show had everything you could ever want. Grown-up versions of your favorite characters. Some of your favorite characters in the show probably went through some of the same things you were going through as a preteen. All Grown Up wasn't just a show for babies. It was more than that. It taught morals, it taught family, and most importantly, it taught you how to be yourself. In this vid, I want to look back at this show and talk about why I like it so much, with the help of a few friends. So get ready to sing that catchy theme song and don't be such a gamer stew, cause we're diving into what All Grown Up really is all about right here. Let's look back. Before All Grown Up became a show about life's daily problems growing up and going to school, it all started as a show called Rugrats. The show will follow Tommy and his band of babies going on adventures and using their imagination to shape the world around them. The reason the Rugrats worked was because of its genius premise. You're seeing the world through a baby's eyes. This idea led to some pretty interesting adventures, like the babies as cowboys or astronauts. This show was like the Backyardigans, but with babies. The show over time gained popularity, leading to 3 blockbuster movies, each one being grander in scale. The last movie had the babies meeting the one and only Nigel Thornberry of the Wild Thornberrys. Now that's how you go on top when making a movie trilogy.
Great goodle, a gaggle of babies. Children, stay right there. I'm coming down. Not the way I intended.
The Rugrats wouldn't be big if it wasn't for its iconic cast of characters like Tommy, the leader, Chucky, the nervous, Phil and Lil, the babies that consume bugs and gross stuff, Susie, the voice of reason for the babies, and Angelica, the person everyone hated. She was kinda mean to the babies at times and would torture them, but don't worry. All Grown Up did, however, correct Angelica and made her more likable. I'll get to that a little later. Rugrats was split into 2-part segments, each lasting 15 minutes, while All Grown Up centered its story on one theme per episode, instead of the 2-segment structure. This structure and change would allow the viewers to stay more invested into the story. Now, if I can be honest, for as much as I love the Rugrats, the babies weren't really fleshed out in terms of character. Each baby was given a specific trait. Sometimes that trait wouldn't really do much but serve the episode's overall premise. Tommy was pretty much the only fleshed out character among the babies, and that's only because he is the face of the show. And if I can nitpick for just a few minutes about this show, the mispronunciation of words in Rugrats really annoys me. The babies are capable of full speech, but they tend to sort of flub a sentence or two, and it kinda is annoying at times, but it's not enough to keep me from not watching the show. Later, they sort of tone down the mispronunciation of words, which is a good thing. In a show where the babies are the main focus, the adults add a sense of camaraderie and unity as they struggle with their daily life being parents and trying to balance between the two. I really enjoy catching up with the Finster family and the Pickles family and whatever family they introduce on the show. It is a joy to watch them each in one room just banter at one another. While the Rugrat family members weren't the vocal point of the show, they do add a sense of normality in a world where babies use their imagination to go on adventures. Adult supervision is needed. Now, with the success of the Rugrats, Nickelodeon decided to create a few spin-offs, one being Preschool Days. The show centered around Susie and Angelica attending preschool, and it was weird. All I'm gonna say is the animation looks clean but feels very off. I don't know what I don't like about the show, but from the clips I've seen on YouTube, this doesn't seem like a natural progression of Rugrats. Maybe if they use the same art style or maybe have the parents show up, maybe I wouldn't find the show hard to watch, but as of now, I don't think the show holds up at all. Another proposed spin-off was the Carmichael Show. The show was centered around Susie and her family moving from California to Atlanta, Georgia. Apparently, the Rugrats Kwanzaa special was made as a backdoor pilot for the show, but the creators thought that it would ruin the established continuity of the Rugrats. While I do think the writers had a good reason for not going through with the Carmichael Show, I think a show like that tackles the life and day of Susie and her family would be great. I would have loved to see Susie pursue her dreams of being a singer, and let's be honest, there weren't a lot of black cartoons around that time on Nick. I mean, I could be wrong, but Susie Carmichael and her family deserve respect, and I wish one day we can get a spin-off with her character because the way they're treating her in the CGI Rugrats is not good. There were other spin-offs proposed at the time, like an Angelica spin-off where she goes to college, or a spin-off where the Rugrats are fairy tale characters, but the one spin-off that went on for 5 seasons was All Grown Up. The show originated from a special All Grown Up. It was made to celebrate the 10th anniversary of Rugrats. The special showed all of our favorite babies 10 years into the future, attending middle school and just doing what preteens do. The special had 12 million viewers tuning in. People were really excited to see their favorite characters all grown up. The special did so good that Nick greenlit All Grown Up. The show was a big change for the voice cast specifically, as the voice actors had to modify their voices to fit their new characters' ages. Now that you know the development of the show and how it's formed, let's dive into the show itself and talk about some of our favorite characters. The show All Grown Up sees our favorite characters as preteens learning life lessons and what it's like to grow up. What this show does that sets it apart from Rugrats is that each character has time to develop and grow. Each episode feels like there's more weight to it due to each character feeling like a real person. For as much as I enjoy Rugrats as a kid, it's hard to enjoy it as an adult, mostly because the characters aren't really developed enough to make me attached to them. While yes, Rugrats does have some pretty character-changing episodes, there's just not enough. All Grown Up's high school setting allows the characters to experience more relatable stuff. Also, the show is never afraid to hit you in the right spot when it comes to emotions. Each episode starts out pretty normal, and then there's conflict. While the show isn't episodic, there's a bit of continuity, like Lil having her own room, or Angelica being 13 and having a much different room. Little touches like that make the show feel like it's growing with its audience. I also like the fact that each of our main characters have different outfit changes throughout each episode. It adds a little personality and gives each character individuality. After season 1 of Rugrats, the animation also changes and actually looks pretty sharp. And the character designs for our mains look pretty good as they look more like preteens now. What I love most about this show is as the season progresses, each character evolves in both looks and the way they treat one another. Also, the family aspect is more prevalent in this show, as now our main characters like Tommy and Angelica are able to talk to their parents and actually have a conversation. Some of my favorite interactions come from Chucky and his dad. I like how while they're both sorta nervous and a mess, they kinda make it work for each other. And they use their anxiety as less of a crutch and more of a strength. Speaking of characters, let's dive into some of these characters and talk about how they evolve throughout each season. Let's start with Tommy, our main protag. In the show, Tommy is a bit different. While Tommy is still seen as the leader, he does have ambitions and dreams now. He wants to be a filmmaker. Tommy carries his camera most of the time throughout the show and is always trying to make the next big hit. What makes Tommy such a great character is his ability to never give up and be there for his friends. While Tommy is perfect at times, he is very prone to anger, especially towards Dill. There are times where I just think his anger is unwarranted, but I get it, they're brothers. Brothers fight a lot. Now, if I could describe Dill, I would say wild card. See, in Rugrats, Dill never talked. Some would say he was a pointless addition to the family. I don't think so. And whoever said that, screw you. Anyway, Dill is more of an alien-loving, crazy, wacky brother. What I love most about Dill is his relationship with Tommy and the other people he surrounds himself with. For as weird as Dill acts, he is probably the more level-headed one in the group and at times is very deep. He does value his friendship with Tommy, even if at times he feels overshadowed by his big brother.
I want to thank my mother, Dee Dee, and my father, Stu, for their support and inspiration. And my dog, Spike, and my other dog, Spiffy, and oh yeah, and my
Let's go on to Chucky, a character who does evolve a lot in the show. While yes, he is your typical nerd, he does have more confidence than his baby counterpart. There are some pretty good moments with Chucky that I enjoy, my favorite being the ones with him and his dad. Chucky's dad and Phil and Lil's mom run the Java Lava, which is the coolest place to hang out in town. Chucky, along with Kimmy, helps their dad using their crazy good smoothie making skills. Chucky isn't just a nerd, he has a lot more confidence than, I say, even Tommy at times. There's an episode where Chucky becomes a bad boy and plays some crazy pranks on the principal. Chucky is a lot braver than me. I'm a big, fat pussy. Yeah, that word. Let's move on to the dynamic duo Phil and Lil. And yes, in this show, it's easy to tell them apart. In this show, they're not repulsive, and they don't eat worms. They're actually soccer players. The show does give Phil and Lil an episode all about them. Lil is tired of always being compared to Phil, and always being paired up with him. So Lil in the episode decides to be her own person and get her own room. This episode does touch on what it's like not being seen as your own person. The episode has a really good ending that really hits you in the feels. You can always see Lil helping Susie or Kimmy and being overall a good friend. Phil is just one of the guys, and he is gross at times, but what makes Phil and Lil so cool is that they're not bothered by how weird Dill is. Yeah, sure, Dill can be iffy at times, like the time he tried to pop kettle corn with his mind, but they don't seem to mind it and they still hang around with Dill. Phil and Lil are not as one-dimensional as their Rugrat counterparts. They're very intelligent and they do care for their friends and family. Angelica had one of the biggest changes in this show. In Rugrats, Angelica was mean, rude, and was always messing with the babies. Maybe it was a phase, but whatever it was, I really like her character much more in All Grown Up. Angelica in All Grown Up changes a lot. She is still your typical teenage girl who loves shopping and talking to boys, but she is also somewhat of a very good friend, even with Susie. Angelica is often seen with Harold, who's a side character, who's a real simp. Sorry for putting it so blunt. I mean, Harold does stand up for himself in some episodes, but he's still a simp. That's all I'm gonna say. Anyway, Angelica is mostly seen hanging out with Harold and Susie. They're probably the only two people that can tolerate her. I do want to bring up my favorite Angelica moment. It's from season 2. In the episode, it sees Angelica wanting to go to a party, but she has to be a candy striper at a hospital. She ends up being rude to everyone and rushes through a book that she's supposed to read for a sick kid. Angelica then trips and breaks her nose. She then takes advantage of the hospital, and when Savannah comes to visit, the tables turn as everyone who is attending Savannah's party decides to party in the hospital. But what I like more than anything in this episode is the interaction with Angelica and the sick kid. Angelica has a real conversation with him and even reads him a book. Angelica, deep down, is not just your girl who just wants to start drama. She's a person who cares for people and her family. Angelica was a character that was a joy to see grow throughout the show. Now it's time to talk about Miss Cree Summer herself, aka Susie, a character with so much complexity and talent. Susie is a great singer in the show. She has a few moments in the show to show off her pipes, but when she does, she sings like a goddess. Like when she sang at Tommy's birthday party. My favorite Susie episode is an episode where she gets scammed by the music teacher. The teacher tricks Susie into thinking she has talent. She tells Susie to give her $1,000 to record a demo. Susie borrows money from her sister and shows up at a bus stop, only to find out no one showed up. She then realized she got scammed by the teacher and the teacher stole all her money. Susie is discouraged, thinking she can't sing, but after a talk, she gains the confidence back and performs at the Java Lava. It's an episode that teaches there's never an easy way in life. It takes a lot of struggle and pain, and if you have a dream, keep on reaching for the stars. So Susie does appear less frequent in later seasons of All Grown Up, probably due to the fact Cree Summers had other voice work. But when Susie is in an episode, she steals the spotlight, even though Angelica won't let her. FYI, Angelica is a terrible singer, just letting you know. And last but not least of the All Grown Up gang is Kimmy. Kimmy was a later addition to Rugrats, being introduced in Rugrats in Paris. She became Chucky's surrogate sister after her mom married Chucky's dad. In Rugrats, she was a baby that would simply tag along with Tommy. She is brave like Tommy, but not as much. In All Grown Up, Kimmy is pretty much exploring who she is. You know, it was always cool seeing Kimmy in different outfits for every episode. In the show, Kimmy could be a bit bossy sometimes, but that's because she cares. Kimmy really started embracing her culture when she finds out she's Japanese. I won't talk much about the episode as I feel like somebody else will cover it. Now, there's some times throughout the show where Chucky can be a bit overprotective over Kimmy. Like the time Tommy and Kimmy started dating and Chucky went crazy. Not really my favorite episode, but at least they gave Kimmy and Tommy a love story. Overall, Kimmy's just a character who's unsure who she is and what she wants to be, and is just finding herself. What All Grown Up did was take the time to flesh out each and every character, either by giving them an episode or a time to shine. All Grown Up also gave each character a trait and a hobby that will fit their ever-changing life. Speaking of character growth, I got a couple of my friends to talk about their favorite character that they love seeing throughout the show, and also their favorite episode. So without further ado, here are my amigos.
Sup Streaks, I'm Artis, and Kimmy is such a gem. Not only is she compassionate and caring for her friends and family, but Kimmy is also an animal lover, especially in plush form. Honestly, same. And she also has the best style out of the entire group. Like, come on, if we're being real here, look at her, just look at my girl. She rocking the Digidestined look. Goggles and all, go ahead girl. Kimmy, to her own surprise, is Japanese, and in the episode Memoirs of a Finster, she explores her Japanese heritage and shares her customs with her friends and family. Even though they don't fully understand it, but they try, you know? I felt that Kimmy was just too far up her own ego to actually appreciate the efforts her family, especially Chucky, went through to support her. He wore bird poop for her, for fuck's sake.
I spent days practicing kabuki, learned Japanese, even wore bird poop on my face, and I don't even get a branch on your family tree. Not even a measly twig. And let me tell you something, sister. Bird poop is a lot thicker than water.
For as nice as Kimmy can be, she can also get very narrow-minded once setting her focus onto something. such as the episode Petition This, where she runs a campaign to ban cell phones from school, to the point where she ends up slandering her own brother and airing out his literal dirty laundry in an effort to win. But thankfully, she learns her lesson in the end, as expected in these episodic adventures with light continuity. Also, I know diggity damn well that I was not the only person who shipped Kimmy and Tommy as a kid. Even at the end of the episode TP plus KF, they were stealing glances at each other. If we had a sequel series to All Grown Up, maybe high school, college, who knows, I would love to have seen the possible dynamic between the two. Sounds so fucking cute. Dating your bestie's sister and the drama from that. The drama. If I had to choose my favorite episode, I'd go with Miss Knows It All, because mean old Angelica gets a hard reality check of a lesson about the possible worst things that could happen to you, or what can land you into the hospital and what you could be missing out on. It was also just sweet seeing her be, well, sweet, and reading to a child who lost out on his baseball season due to kidney failures. And that was just really sad. And they say Angelica is heartless. Maybe.
Hello, it's ShadeX, and today I'll be talking about All Grown Up since Ramen asked me to be a part of this video on the show. Rugrats was one of my favorite Nicktoons as a kid before SpongeBob was a thing. I loved Rugrats as a kid and I was obsessed with the first two movies. So I was ecstatic when I found out about the Rugrats 10th anniversary special, All Grown Up, in 2001. I remember begging my parents to rent the video from either Blockbuster or Hollywood Video on VHS back in the day. It was really neat to see the babies now growing up as preteens. The special was a hit and soon All Grown Up became a full series. What surprises me is that Nick was still promoting Rugrats alongside All Grown Up back in the day. In my mind, I view All Grown Up as the sequel show that picks up where Rugrats left off, but the shows were going on around the same time from 2003 to 2004. This situation reminds me of what's going on with SpongeBob currently, with the original show and two spin-offs currently on air. Thank goodness Rugrats didn't have a second spin-off. Yeah, I want to forget that preschool days was a thing. While I don't see any SpongeBob spin-off Nick can pull out of their dead seahorse's mouth, a time skip arc for Rugrats was a genius idea on their part. Anyway, in 2004, Rugrats came to an end, but the spin-off show stuck around. All Grown Up was still on the air with new episodes until August of 2008. Anyway, Ramen wanted me to talk about my favorite episode and character from the show, so here we go. My favorite episode of All Grown Up is You Gotta Go, an episode that spoofs the popular card game and anime series Yu-Gi-Oh! I really like the charm of anime parodies and Western cartoons during the early 2000s. The beginning of the episode features a You Gotta Go battle in an anime-inspired world, which is revealed to be a part of Tommy's imagination. The card game is popular among the preteens who like playing it. However, they all fear a kid they call the Shark, who has a deck of powerful cards. It seems everyone is into You Gotta Go, but Chucky Finster initially isn't a fan of the game, believing it to be a fad. He sees merch all over school and it seems he isn't all that interested. However, soon Chucky sees an ad for the You Gotta Go cards and asks his dad, Chaz, if he can buy some for $20. Chucky wants the cards because he's the only kid in school without them. However, Chucky needs to wait 3 weeks since he spent all of his allowance already. I can relate to Chucky a lot in this episode. Yu-Gi-Oh! Was something almost all the kids at my school were into in the early 2000s, and I really wanted cards and merchandise from the show, just like him in the episode. Anyway, Chaz tries to convince Chucky that stamp collecting is better than card collecting. The stamp collection was started by Chucky's grandpa for Chaz, and he passes it on to his son. The episode's B-plot is Angelica losing her cell phone after using too many minutes. She has to do chores to get it back. The plot converges with Chucky's because Angelica has a storage room full of You Gotta Go cards that her mom keeps stock of. Chucky ends up doing chores for Angelica to get the cards. Soon, Chucky ends up winning his first game with the help of his friends, kids and then becomes addicted to the game. He ends up collecting a large collection of cards while helping Angelica with more chores and becomes skilled at the game. The kids like that Chucky is winning games, however, Tommy criticized Chucky for spending too much time playing You Gotta Go. Anyway, the shark shows up and defeats Chucky with one card and takes his whole deck. Chucky becomes desperate, asking Angelica for more cards. He then looks for stuff to sell to buy a red mirror dragon card to defeat the shark. Chucky then makes the decision to trade his stamp collection he was given by his dad to exchange for cards. Tommy and the kids then decide to stop him. Chucky trades all of his stamps for decks of cards, but unfortunately doesn't find the red mirror dragon card. Chucky then steals from the fountain for more card money since he's fresh out of stamp. However, Chucky then realizes his desperation and drops all the coins. Chucky notes that he wanted to be a somebody who was skilled at You Gotta Go. However, his friends note that he is already special to them. Chucky is worried he can't get the stamps back, but Angelica gets them back by going full Karen mode at the card shop. Chucky then realizes You Gotta Go is an addiction and gives up playing the game. He then decides to collect stamps with his dad and gets surprised with a pack of You Gotta Go cards. He opens it and gets the red mirror dragon card. After that, the episode ends. My favorite Rugrats character is Chucky Finster. I really liked him as a character in the original Rugrats show. His Saturn shirt is iconic. I like how, despite being afraid in the original show, he faces his fears. For example, in Rugrats he goes down the slide, despite being afraid of it. I really like the words Chucky utters to himself as he climbs the slide.
I'm a big brave dog. I'm a big brave dog. I'm a big brave... I made it. I made it, you guys. I made it. Look, I'm on top of the world. Hooray!
I also love Rugrats in Paris, and it is definitely my favorite film out of the trilogy, and Chucky Finster makes that film work. Also, I find this scene in the movie funny.
Chucky? He said his first word. He's talking!
I just find it hilarious that Chucky's been talking all throughout the show and in the movie, and no is the only word his dad can recognize. Anyway, now we'll talk about how Chucky was handled in All Grown Up. He hasn't completely changed. He's still nervous at times, like in the original show, but one thing I noticed is that he's really chaotic in this show. One thing I found very interesting in the B-plot of the episode Susie Sings the Blues was the one focused on Chucky. He does a ton of pranks throughout the episode and eventually gets caught by the principal. Chucky liked doing the pranks because of the anticipation of him eventually getting caught. What's funny is that he isn't dreading wrestling with the principal. In fact, he anticipates it. However, the principal has no desire to hurt Chucky, which disappoints him. Instead, he reads poetry, which Chucky doesn't like. Watching this episode after watching years of Rugrats, I can tell Chucky has changed a lot as a character. Through his experiences as a baby, he's become a more brave person, and it really shows. Overall, I enjoyed rewatching All Grown Up, even though it was just 2 episodes. Thank you, Ramen, for letting me be a part of this video. This has been Shadex, and I hope you all feel nothing but good vibes. Also, check out my Rugrats movie trilogy retrospective video.
So when Ramen hit me up to be in this video, I was brought back. Rugrats and All Grown Up shared the title for my favorite TV shows ever. I have a really nice time watching this show on a very emotional level. It's a combination of not only nostalgia, but the absolute insanity that is the wholesomeness of this show. What do you mean, you might ask? Well, think about it. For a decade, people saw a group of babies experience some crazy things on the old-ass TVs with the TVUSI on the back, to then see them get into even crazier things on the big screen, to the point where these babies should be fucking legendary celebrities. I mean, imagine some babies driving around a huge green mechanical lizard in Paris and no media picking it up. That would be like a sin in our current society. So to then see these babies grow up and have to deal with the realities of life itself, it's not only humbling to see plot-wise, but it's crazy to imagine these babies you've seen for a decade about to become preteens. Enter All Grown Up, the sequel show to Rugrats that redefined how to do sequel cartoons. Now I have no idea what Ramen will say about this show or what the other guests will say either, but if they said anything bad about All Grown Up, damn, L opinion, L segment, L video, L life, L viewing experience, L mindset, L fucking everything. Okay, let's get serious. Ramen had asked me to talk about my favorite episode and a character I really resonate with. As soon as he asked that, I remembered exactly what episode I wanted to talk about. That being season 1 episode 8, entitled River Rats. Get it? It's a pun on Rugrats, and they go to the river in the episode. River Rats? Anyways, in this episode, Betty takes Tommy, Chucky, and Phil whitewater rafting. See, personally, me, that's some white shit. It couldn't be me, honey. We get to see halfway through the episode that Tommy happens to be traumatized by an incident when he was a toddler, when he was out fishing with his grandfather Lou and he fell into the river. He almost ended up drowning, and since then, he didn't like being around water. Simple plot, right? Wrong. So the problem with this is Tommy has kind of been repressing this feeling for his whole life, so he didn't sound like a wuss. Before they even go, you see a scene where Tommy, Chucky, and Phil are practicing in Betty's backyard in a huge raft where they're tilting the raft to left and right, mimicking how it would be on some crazy ass river. Tommy here is really seen trying to hype everyone up, even though he's really feeling insecure about his fear, and that only heightens when they actually get ready to get on the river. Up until then, Chucky observed Tommy getting visibly worried, frightened, or even agitated. When Chucky tried to ask Tommy what's wrong, Tommy would then snap at Chucky. This all culminated to when they finally get on the river. You can see that Tommy is scared shitless being on that raft, even when all of them have life jackets on and they're in the calmest of waters. As they continue down the river, Phil's clumsy ass flips his paddle and drops it in the water by Tommy. They tell Tommy to get it real quick, but he gets a Vietnam flashback and hesitates. So then Chaz goes in and tries to get it, but accidentally falls in. Oh shit, I forgot to mention Chaz was there too. Yeah, he had this line where beforehand he was like, "It may help to have a man along," as he hikes up his fucking pants that are made from the fur of the Cheshire Cat from Alice in Wonderland, with a belt on that looks thicker than an average day of hot girl summer. After that horrendous fit, I kind of wrote him out of my mind for this episode, which, by the way, I don't know if anyone brought this up, but like outfits change pretty quickly in All Grown Up, a thing that you really don't see in 90% of cartoons. Anyways, to get back to it, Chaz falls in and Betty goes in the river to save him like the strong, independent woman she is, leaving Tommy, Chucky, and Phil in the raft to see them only get separated and send the three of them down a separate connecting river that's even crazier than the one before. They end up capsizing later down the river and beach themselves on a bank, possibly miles from the campsite and where they last saw Betty and Chaz. At first, Chucky suggests since they're lost to stay put, but finally Phil gets tired and starts walking back up the trail that is beside the river. While they are walking, Chucky confronts Tommy fully about why he's been acting so weird, and Tommy finally cracks. He tells Chucky about what happened and how scared he is of the water. Chucky is really confused though, because there were multiple times that they've been together at the beach or at the pool, but Tommy reassures Chucky that every single time he was just scared to death. Chucky kind of gets offended because they don't keep secrets from each other, but Tommy stupidly tries to hide it because he doesn't want to seem weak. Maybe some of y'all noticed from the Rugrats, but Tommy most of the time takes a leadership position, whether this is leading the babies to go explore somewhere or to lead them back to their parents in a foreign environment. They didn't forget that in this series. They thought the best idea was for the babies to keep the same qualities that they had. And I can't even understand how someone can come to that decision and it works out so well. Even better, at the end of the episode, Phil ends up falling into the river. Tommy is the only one who can save him, and he doesn't. He conquers his fears. He puts those fears aside to save his friend from a life or death situation. He defeats his fears and becomes and sustains that natural born leadership he has had since an infant. It's kind of poetic in a way. And this kind of leads me into who my favorite character and who I relate the most is. It's Tommy. I want to save how I relate to him for my own retrospective / review / deep dive / whatever that I'm doing on my own channel in the future. But I would hate to not say why Tommy is a great character and written near perfectly. And it has to be simply just how he puts others before himself. He may at first seem to only think about his own ambitions, his own feelings, but soon enough, he realizes that the feelings of his friends mean more than him. He's known these people for his entire life, and he realizes these friends and family are the only people he has. No matter what, these are the closest people to him, and he appreciates that. And I appreciate that about his character. His ambitions, his goals, his personality is something I appreciate, and it makes me really, really happy. I don't know when this video will get out, but I wrote this the day before I recorded it. and I couldn't hold myself back from crying while I was writing these past few sentences, because Tommy and All Grown Up really just mean a lot to me personally. It's a show that's stuck with me through my childhood, and I'm really happy that some people actually like the show, with I think the general consensus of this show kind of being that it's lackluster. Anyways, I really don't have anything else to talk about, because if I added literally anything else, it would be another 10 minutes, and Ramen already said I only got 6. So, sub to Down Bad Boys, a group channel I help to run with people that are more well-known than me, and follow me on Twitter for shitty takes. Thanks to Ramen for having me here, and I'm out of here.
What's good, y'all? It's Kang of Big Brother Tunes. I gotta say, All Grown Up is probably the best Rugrats sequel after the original series, which sadly I can't say for the sequel or the reboot, but we aren't going to worry about those disappointments. All Grown Up is simply a spin-off of the Nick classic Rugrats, and honestly gives all the characters a natural progression from babies to preteens. Everyone is in character while still trying to showcase their maturity and growth as people. Except Chucky, he had a major downgrade as a character in some moments. Motherfucker was a borderline incel at times, cause I ain't gonna lie to you, but I'm not here to talk about that. I'm here to talk about the homegirl, my daughter, Susie Carmichael. Not only is she the most level-headed and mature of the group, she also stays looking out for her friends, even keeping Angelica's bougie ass in check. But they are cool with each other for the most part. That being said, they were not afraid to show Susie having flaws of her own. One episode in particular I feel showcases that is the episode Susie Sings the Blues. To sum it up, a supposed talent scout is looking for an act to present for a show. After Angelica fumbles the bag on her audition, Susie tries it out, and of course, being voiced by Cree Summers, wins the audition with flying colors, bruh. Let's see it. Afterwards, the talent scout runs some details to Susie. She is caught off guard by the audition fee being $1,000. Like, bruh, where the hell is a 12-year-old gonna get that type of money, cuz? The fuck? Well, despite the odds, Susie manages to get the money and is set to make her big debut as a singer. Unfortunately, when Susie gets the audition, she finds the location and comes to the realization that she was played and the talent scout scammed her out of $1,000. This episode, despite having a somewhat bittersweet ending, really showcases Susie's flaws as a character in the best way possible. She's great at so many things, but is far too trusting of some people, and throughout the series she is shown to be an overachiever. Honestly, she kind of reminds me of my sister, and it's one of the reasons why I like her so much as a character. But with all that being said, there's one thing I gotta bring up. Why is Susie light-skinned? Like, this wasn't just a couple of frames or scenes. She just looks like this from season 2 and onward. Like, bro, who hit Susie with the light skin ray? Cuz, man, even preschool days lightened her up. Come on, man. The reboot might be mid as fuck, but even they got Susie's original complexion right. But I digress. Susie is a great character, and All Grown Up is honestly one of the most underrated Nick shows. Back to you, my brother Ramen.
Thank you guys so much. These people all make really great content, so I recommend you checking them out for really banger vids. Now, let's get back to it. While watching All Grown Up, I found it hard to pinpoint which character I love seeing, but then I remember, as a kid, I was sort of the weirdo that not many understand. The character that I think reflects me as a person that I enjoy watching is Dill. But before I explain that, let's take a bit of an ad break.
Ramen Retrospective is brought to you by the awesome supporters over at Ko-Fi and viewers like you. Thank you.
And now viewers, back to the show. Enjoy. There are a few reasons why I enjoy Dill and why I relate to him throughout All Grown Up. It's because while Dill is still naive and stupid, Dill was also more caring. There'd be episodes where Dill and Tommy are fighting, and if I'm being honest, while I usually think Tommy is in the right, I often find myself feeling more bad for Dill than Tommy. I often don't like these all grown up style episodes, but brothers do fight, I understand that. Out of most of the characters in the show, Dill does seem to be the most developed, as hard as it is to say. Now, Tommy and Angelica are easy to develop and write character changing moments for, but what the writers did for Dill was genius. They took this baby and matured him and made him more open and unique and happy with who he is, which is something I strive for. You know, sometimes I'm not happy with who I am, but seeing Dill and All Grown Up made me accept maybe it's okay to be weird, cause the weirdness can lead to so many more possibilities down the line. If I had to pick, my favorite episode is the season 2 episode Bad Aptitude. What I enjoy from this episode is when Tommy and his friends and family watch the film. They don't like it at all. Tommy is in his belief he is in a rut, so he makes another film, but that film also turns out to be a bomb. Tommy is then approached by these kids in suits who are trying to sell a product. Tommy gives the kids an idea. The idea is so good, it makes Tommy realize maybe he should quit making films and make commercials. Tommy gives up on his dream, but his friends try so hard to make him be a filmmaker again, but it's no use. Tommy then decides on his own that he doesn't need to stop making films. He could just use his talent to make commercials and still be artistic. I relate to this episode so much because as a person who loves making films, shorts, and videos, I'm always not satisfied with the final product. Even when people seem to be, I'm not. Sometimes you realize you can still achieve your dreams, but in a smaller capacity. Tommy knows he can't make the next great big movie, but he will make great commercials, which does require skill and talent. And I'm pretty sure Tommy won't give up his dream of being a filmmaker, because I'm pretty sure all Tommy needs to do is just practice and learn the craft, and he can probably be better. Really, all it takes to be a filmmaker is time, practice, writing. Everything requires time and effort. Nothing's easy. It's like, while I know I can never make a great movie, I know I can make a great video online and still gain the same level of respect in a smaller way. Here's a little factoid for y'all. Did you know Little Romeo was the only celebrity cameo on All Grown Up? Yeah, he played a struggling Cupid helping people find love with a hacky sack. After that one celebrity episode, the Rugrats team decided to never have another guest episode. And I'm kinda glad, as I do think the show's story and characters carried the show. I can't really find anything I hate about this show. Maybe I'm blinded by childhood nostalgia, but after watching it on Paramount Plus, I did find one episode that I hated so much. To me, it's one of the worst All Grown Up episodes I've ever watched. In the episode, Angelica starts an online blog to start drama. Within the episode, Tommy has a bully who's a girl that constantly picks on him and pranks him while he's on the bus. The bully has balloons filled with slime. Dill pushes Tommy out of the way and is still slimed. Tommy, because he cares about his rep apparently, makes a fake scenario where he's fighting a snake just so he can impress his school. Tommy, in the middle of the episode, tells Dill to stay away from him at school. Dill goes on to interview his family and friends on what it's like to have and be an older brother. Dill, because he is a good brother, saves Tommy from the snake, and Tommy says the most out of character thing I've ever heard somebody say. Tommy says he cares more about his rep and popularity, and doesn't enjoy being embarrassed. While the episode ends on a good note, this entire episode, Tommy comes off being and acting like an asshole. Dill, despite Tommy's warning, saves Tommy despite the snake not being able to move. I'm sorry, Tommy. Since when did you care about being popular? This is Tommy, the baby who led his fellow babies on every single adventure. Tommy, the dude who bounced back after realizing he can't make the greatest film ever. I'm sorry, I hate this episode. Every episode of All Grown Up is great because each character cared for each other. While yes, some of them fought most of the time, they never cared what others thought of them. I mean, yes, middle school does tend to foster anxiety and fear, and you know, I can take the run-of-the-mill pimple episode or the prom episode, but this episode isn't it, Chief. I'm so sorry. So All Grown Up has a great 5 seasons minus 1 episode, right? Well, it isn't without its faults. and that goes for the finale. The last episode is one of those sibling fighting episodes. Tommy gets jealous of Stu spending time with Dill. This finale is awful. I was so happy to see All Grown Up and watch it all the way through up into the finale. I would have loved to see our fellow Rugrats move to high school, or why not do a time skip where they go to college and navigate adulthood. I would have preferred something closer to that instead of what we got. While we didn't get a great overall finale to an amazing show, we did get something pretty great. We got to see our favorite characters again, navigating middle school. You know, while looking back at this show, I'm reminded of me as a preteen watching it. This show has taught me to value friendships and family among anything. While I watch every episode, I enjoy seeing the growth of my favorite characters, seeing them at their worst and seeing them at their best. I didn't think I enjoyed watching Angelica's character, but her character is so complex and well written, due to the fact that the show writers actually cared. This show will remain in my heart forever, and if I ever have a kid, I will enjoy watching the show with them and teaching them the same life lessons this show taught me. My name is Ramen. You have a good night.
Oh, I knew you'd come! She didn't steal my talent, right?
No, but someone stole hers. But our long history together compelled us to act.
But our history is me yelling at you guys. And that got us right here.
I'm a friend to you. When we have each other, there's nothing we can't do. You were there for me, I am there for you. Whether good or bad times, we'll see it through. You're a friend to me, I'm a friend to you. You brighten up my day when I'm feeling blue. Years from now, wherever we'll be, hold on to our dreams for you and for me. Whether we are near or apart,